Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are really happy to have you here for our webinar. And thank you, of course, to the panelists for being here today, taking out the time and joining us on the webinar. So you're here for a webinar to discover the ESSEC Global MBA program. Let's start. Before I start, we talk about the webinar. Let's run through a few housekeeping rules so you're aware of what's happening. So this webinar is going to last approximately 1 hour. You make sure you connect your speakers or connect to a headphone so you could hear us and you can receive the audio. This webinar is recorded, so do not worry. If there is any technical error, you will receive the playback in the next 24 hours. And if you don't receive it, do not hesitate to write to us. We'll send it across to you. And during the whole session, you can use the chat box or the question box to send us any questions you might have because you have been automatically muted. And of course, if you have any specific questions you want to discuss a little more in detail about your profile to see if it matches with the Global MBA program or if this is the right program for you, please send us an email to our recruitment team at global-mba@essec.edu. So moving on, today we are going to be talking about the Global MBA program, like I mentioned in the beginning. We'll start off by, of course, knowing who our panelists are, our amazing panelists today. And then we'll go on to talk about the program, the profile, the different majors in the program, what to expect when you enter the Global MBA program. And of course, why you're here is to listen to our esteemed alumni. So they're going to be sharing their stories as well. And of course, if you have any questions, do not hesitate. We have a question and answer part at the end of it. But make sure you put it in the question or chat section so I could receive the questions at my end. Moving on, like I said, our amazing panel who joined us here today. Thank you so much once again. So with us today, we have Kentia Boulay, the Program Director of the ESSEC Global MBA and the MSc in Hospitality Management. Welcome online with us today, Kentia.
Thank you, Kentia.
And along with Kentia, there is also Alejandro Arellano and Kailash Satyanarayan, who are two alumni. Alejandro from class of 2020, who is currently working in Mano Mano, France as a senior account manager, and Kailash, on the other hand, who graduated in 2019 and is working as a senior manager in transforming finance with Deloitte in the UK. I don't need to present myself. You heard enough of me. So with that, I will hand over to you, Kentia.
Thank you, Kenika, and welcome and thank you for joining us today for this webinar. So I'm going to just share with you a few information about ESSEC Business School. I'm sure you have done some research already, but just to wrap up on that, we are a French business school with a global outreach, and we count on 100 years of experience. So you're joining a very prestigious and historical school if you're joining ESSEC. We have 4 campuses, 2 in France, one in Cergy, where the program, the Global MBA program is taught, one in La Défense, who is more dedicated to executive education, one campus in Singapore, where actually I've spent the last 8 years, so I'm happy to answer any question as well about Singapore if you have any. And we have one campus in Africa, in Rabat. In addition to that, we have launched 2 years ago a digital campus, which is now part of our offer. I'm not going to come back on the ranking because I'm very sure you've checked on that, and we are ranked number 6 for the best European business school by the FT and number 5 for the executive education programs. And I would like to highlight the fact that we are our program is a triple crown accredited program by AACSB, EMBA, and EQUIS, which of course shows the quality of the learning experience that we offer. So joining ESSEC Business School, maybe I'll mention that here is also, it's not specifically mentioned on the previous slide, but it's also joining a big network of alumni. And I think it's one very important part of your program and the experience you're going to get. And I'm sure our 2 guest alumni will be able to share on that later on. So next slide. some key facts about the ESSEC Global MBA. So first of all, you have to have in mind that it's a very intense program, because we offer this program over 12 months. And actually the classes will be running between September, when you will start the program, and until mid-May. And after that, you will be focusing on the capstone and graduating in October the following year. So be ready. It's an intense experience. Things will happen, of course, during the week, but also over the weekend with master classes or talent center activities that you will have over the weekend, and of course some teamwork. This program is offered on 2 campuses. I told you before we have 4, but we offer specifically the Global MBA in Paris at Cergy, and part of it can be completed in Singapore during your 3rd term, and I'll come back to that later if you have any question. Important part of the experience is the 3 months capstone project, which is a consulting field project offered by companies in which you will be working in teams, and you have the choice between completing a capstone project at the end of your Global MBA program or an internship. The Global MBA at ESSEC offers you 2 specializations. The first one is about strategy and digital leadership, and the second one is luxury brand management, and I'll come back later on in the presentation on what are specific to those 2 tracks. Joining the ESSEC Global MBA is also good for you if you're looking for international exposure, and you will get this international exposure throughout the profile of the cohort, because I'll give you some key facts about the profile of the cohort later, but it also means that you can be studying and learning on up to 5 countries during your Global MBA journey. Why so? First of all, you can be studying in France and in Singapore. And as part of the Global MBA program, we offer you 2 field trips, 2 to 3 field trips actually, which depends on your specialization. So next slide, please. So more about the class profile. The cohort is on purpose, and we want that to be clear, on a class size that is enable you to really have to get to know very well each other, and it's a very human size class size program. The average in terms of age is 30 years old, and I would like to insist on the diversity that you will find in this classroom in terms of background. First of all, academic background, professional background, and also nationalities. 97% of our class is international, meaning not French for us. And you will have, so this year in mind, in terms of the nationalities, we have students coming from the US, from Europe, from all parts of Asia. And I think it's an important part of your participant journey to get to interact in such a diverse classroom. All the participants have on average 6 years of professional experience, and we are very proud to say that compared to other MBA programs, we have a real balance between male and female in our participants. So a bit more on the two tracks that we are offering as part of the Global MBA program. The first one being strategy and digital leadership. What is important to have in mind is that all your participant journey, if you choose one of those 2 tracks, will be catered to help you to reach your career goals. And it will be a combination of classes that will be dedicated to enhance and increase your skills. So it will be a traditional classroom learning and core courses or skills courses. Just to name a few, you will be learning about managing and leading in organizations, digital disruption, global strategy, statistics, data, and judgment. And we will also equip you in terms of soft skills in this SDL track with classes such as communication and impact, communication for influence and impact, ethic for decision making. So that's for the class offer. Then for the SDL track, we will of course bring outside the classroom activities, such as guest speakers that will be illustrating what you have learned in the classroom. The capstone project will be, of course, in relation to your main interest in terms of the topics. So it's really a holistic approach that we are taking in terms of the offering in the track itself. If we want to move on to the next offer that we have, it's the other major that we offer, the luxury brand management. You might know that ESSEC is well known for its expertise in luxury, because we have launched this MBA program with this specialization in luxury in '95 with the support of LVMH and L'Oréal, which are still key partners of the luxury track. And once again, apart from the classes, of course, that will be focusing on luxury brand management, you will have access to speakers, to savoir-faire discovery. Last week, we brought the students to discover the champagne savoir-faire in Reims with a visit at Krug, for instance, and they will be discovering Haute Marpiquet next week. So it's also field trips that are enhancing your discovery of the luxury world. And we have a very close network of corporate partners that that are really involved in this track and would come for, again, talks, capstone projects, and various other activities in relation to your track. So as I was saying, so you have the classes, you have the experience with the speakers, and you have also a very important part of the experience, which is the talent center. And the idea is really to for us to help you to shine in your chosen field by different steps that are organized by the talent center to help you to reach your goals. So first of all, you will have support in preparing all your tools, your CV writing, and we do provide and we do use a system that helps you to write a CV that is really attractive for the companies you will be applying for, using the keywords and working with AI. So that's the first step, and we'll help you to prepare on that. Second step will be to equip you once again with the soft skills throughout what we call the soft skills hacker on topics such as cultural differences, teamwork, emotional intelligence, and you will have regular meetings with the talent center team and real personalized career counseling throughout your MBA journey. Then we have a series of workshops that are very important to help you for your career search, such as LinkedIn workshops, consulting workshops, and also now with after the pandemics, we have added some workshops about mastering virtual interviews, for example, and personal brandings, which is, I think, also very key nowadays. And the last part, which is also coordinated by the Talent Center, is to help you either to find your capstone project or your internship prior to the end of your program. So once again, a real personalized guidance for your career success. So just here on these slides, a few examples of who are the top recruiters on SDL track or on the luxury brand management track. So just to name a few: Accenture, EY, BNP, Mano, and we have Alejandro today, so we'll be able to share more with us. Danone, and on the luxury side, of course, all the big names as well: Chanel, LVMH, L'Oréal, Prada, and more. So just to recap, and I'll be happy to take your questions later on if you have any. It's for those of you who are considering applying for our program. We are currently having the first round of admissions, and we have admissions interview today. So I know some of you, I've seen this morning, plan to attend the webinars. So first stage for you is to work on your preparation. What we do advise in terms of your application process is really to take the necessary time to prepare for your application. It means take the GMAT, talk to alumni, it's very important, and try to talk to not only one, I mean, try to talk to really multiple people who have maybe chosen the track you are looking at. Talk to students ambassadors who are currently in the program, so it will give you another perspective of students starting currently the program. And once you're done with that, you can start your online application. You will have to upload your transcripts, diploma, CV, and photos, and of course the results of your test, plus 2 professional references on an online form. Once it's done, you will be contacted if you are selected for an interview, and we will be happy to see you and to discuss with you. The objective of this interview, I think it's important to have that in mind, is really for us to ensure that it's a good match on both sides. We are looking for passionate individuals, and you are looking for a program that will enable you to achieve your career goals. So the objective of those discussions we're going to have during the admissions interview is to ensure that it's a good match on both sides. So next online application date will be closing on the 21st of November. And we'll be happy to meet with you if you go up to the interview stage. So I'm handing over to you, Kanika.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gantia. It was very insightful, your presentation. Moving on to the much awaited presentations from our alumni, and actually that reminded me that Alejandro, you were also our ambassador during the program. So thank you so much for your commitment during the program and continuously till now, and hopefully in the future as well. So let's maybe start by a quick presentation about yourself. Tell our audience who you are, where you come from, and what do you do.
Well, thank you, Kanika. Well, thank you all for coming here. I'm a Mexican with an engineering degree and 4 years of working experience pre-MBA, mainly in logistics. Since my very first job position, I was exposed to international clients, and this sparked a very huge interest in getting to know more about different cultures. So it was crystal clear for me that I wanted to pursue my master's abroad and have international exposure, just as Kensha mentioned it before. So I thought, well, why not giving myself a try in one of the most prestigious business schools in Europe? So I was lucky enough to get into the program and eventually graduate, not before experiencing the biggest transport strike in Paris in the last 30 years and a world pandemic. So yeah, it was a very interesting year, maybe even more challenging than I was already expecting it, but I wouldn't change not even a minute of it.
Great. It's true you graduated in the year of the pandemic. So how was that experience? If you want to add like a little word about it, like you said, it was challenging and even more than you thought about it. But if you won't have to say what it brought to you.
What, sorry?
What it brought to you this challenging year of doing an MBA during the pandemic. Maybe we'll think about this, and unless you have an answer right away.
No, like, well, I guess it was challenging in the way that coming from an engineering background, I had to pivot into getting to know more about business, get aware of finance topics. This when it comes to hard skills, but when it comes to soft skills, also like adapt to a new environment. I'll be honest, I never went out of my hometown in Mexico for 26 years, and I mean maybe just a couple of summers, a very short time. So adaptation was one challenge. Also getting to have the empathy with the people, like coming from different cultures that I didn't know. All this was very, very interesting, but I say challenging because I was never exposed to something like that before. But that was the whole point, and that's why it made even a greater experience.
Great. And if you have to describe the Global MBA in 3 words, what would it be?
The MBA in 3 words would be a roller coaster ride.
Amazing.
And I'm not good at roller coasters, by the way, but this one I enjoyed very much.
That's great. So, how do you think ESSEC contributed to help you achieve your goals? You mentioned a few things here and there, but maybe if you want to concretize it a little bit more.
Yeah, well, how it helped me by opening the doors of the European job market. It provided me a huge network, not only in France, but all around the world. It's crazy to think that before the MBA, I barely knew people outside of Mexico. Now, to think that I have a place to stay in Korea, Singapore, Sweden, oh, that's kind of cool. And of course, the people I've been able to know in a more professional way also have been able to give me a lot of insights, like how to be better in the job, in the position I'm doing, or also like how to look for opportunities. All this kind of advice that come from people that can be directors, they can be very high rank executives. This is thanks to the network ESSEC has give to me. So also, of course, the soft and hard skills that I was mentioning before, that are
Yeah.
necessary for a business position. That's also that ESSEC contributed so I could achieve my goals.
Great. It's true, actually. You kind of validate what Kentia was mentioning earlier, that the Global MBA really provides you a network to not only amongst your cohort, but also in the industry, and makes you reach out to such interesting profiles, such experts who are in the industry that give you insights and help you grow in your career. So it's really nice to hear that you actually achieved it out of the program, and you were able to make the best of the network you made there. And if you have to give a recommendation, we have a lot of people who are joined in here today. So if you have to recommend them about their application process, about getting into the MBA program, what should they should think about, or what direction they should take, what would be your advice for them?
Well, what I can recommend is be curious, ask a lot of questions. I once heard that per out of 100, asked 80% of the time, listen to other people, and 20% of the time talked about you. Well, I mean, this is very personal, but the point of this is like you can always learn from somebody, no matter the profile, no matter the background. Like there's always something to learn from everybody. Take advantage of this, and of course, there are always very rich discussions in and outside the classroom. So uh, I I can say, for instance, that I push myself to get to know more about the topics I was not very familiar with, like finance, all this stuff, because I was surrounded by these people. I wanted to not, of course, I was not going to be at their same level, but I wanted to at least be able to have a discussion. And this is something that, thanks to the program, I was able to improve my curiosity. So I'll just recommend you to do whatever fits you the best, but by asking questions and getting curious, you're gonna get more inputs.
Great. So for everyone out there listening, be curious, ask all the questions you have to ask, and make a decision on the basis of all the answers you get. Thank you so much, Alejandro. It was very insightful, and of course, we keep talking ahead as well. Maybe from here we'll take on to Kailash. So Kailash, thank you again, and you as well for joining us. Maybe let's just switch to you, and you present yourself and tell us about yourself.
Sure thing. And thank you, Kanika and Kentia, for giving me a chance to be part of this panel. I think it's a very humbling experience. So a bit about myself. I've been very fortunate to have grown up in multiple countries. So I was born in India, where I spent a few years of my life. Then I moved over to New Zealand, where I grew up and did my schooling. I went over to Australia to work over there, and I was fortunate to come over to France and UK. So for me, the idea of culture and that integration was very much that I was definitely looking for in a program. And that was my decision point. So I remember very vividly where we had an open day over in Australia, and during that open day, it was about that cultural piece of going to a new place, going over to France. And for me, I'd never stepped into Europe. So it was an experience of its own to come into a country that I've never been and experience in a program which has so many different varieties of people from all over the world. So that was definitely the selling point. So that's how I kind of got into the program. Professionally, I've kind of worked in different sectors. So I've worked I started off with FMCG with Johnson & Johnson, so very much in the baby products and all of the cosmetic products. Moved into banking for a number of years, and then moved eventually into consulting where I am now. And personally, I'm very much involved in sport, so play a lot of cricket, play quite a bit of badminton and squash, love traveling, which kind of figured that's why I've been kind of moving around everywhere, and get involved in a bit of meditation and charity work.
Great, thank you so much. That's very interesting. It's true that we look at profiles when we are in the recruitment process of people who are looking to grow internationally, but also people who bring something to the table. So people who bring an experience of different cultures, living in different countries. So that's something which you brought to the table for our class. So your classmates for sure learned a lot from you, Kailash, I'm sure. And even as an alumni, the next batch, I remember Alejandro mentioning to me that he met you or had a video presentation. You probably spoke to the class, and maybe Alejandro, if you want to mention something here, or a little experience of when you first met Kailash.
Yeah, it was the beginning of the lockdown. We were all doing everything by Zoom, and Kailash came with this very inspiring story. And of course, like, yeah, we got some very interesting stories from you. And yeah, I'm sure like we can still learn a lot from students, alumni, and that's great. I mean, that's the beauty of this program.
Yeah.
Great. So maybe Kailash, if you have to describe, like Alejandro did, the MBA in 3 words, what would it be?
It's a tough one. I would probably go with 3. And so the first one that comes to my mind is kind of what Alejandro also mentioned on curiosity, but the idea of discovery. And I think that's something that is very much during the program. So for me, it was a personal discovery, obviously being in a country I've never been, but also being in the school, learning from a variety of people. So I'm not an engineer, for example. So learning from the engineering way of thinking, learning from people who are coming from the arts background. The diversity of the different backgrounds coming in meant that I was always curious to learn more and more and more. So that discovery was something I'd really take back. The second one that comes to my mind is a steep learning curve. So obviously with any program, there will be a lot of learning, but I think it's just the idea of being part of other events like case competitions, or being part of like a digital week, or just being involved in your assignments and the idea of case studies. So that steep learning curve was constantly there, which I felt was really important. And the last one is similar exactly to what Alejandro said, that global connection and that bond, because I think that's so important. And I feel that so much more post the program, the idea that I can probably just pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm coming to Paris, let's meet up, or I'm heading over to this place, let's travel. That bond that was created over the year was kind of so important. And I felt that that was very, very important.
Great, you put it all very well in a nutshell. Thank you so much. It's true, like the program helping you grow in your career, to making you more curious than before, to discover more about yourself, and also helping you grow in the next phases of your life. And of course, not alone with the network that you create. It's exactly what you expect from the program, and that's good that you could achieve this. So if you move on, and if you could tell us a little more, you already explained it very well, but maybe a little more about how the program contributed to help achieve your goals and where you're today.
Yep. So for me, when I was coming into the program, obviously that discovery and coming into Europe was a big thing. But along with that, it was an idea of finance and strategy was something that was very important for me. And
Mhm.
combining the two, so getting that element of what does strategy look like from actually working, and that was the basis of choosing ESSEC and coming into the program. How it helped was, I think it was that element of that discovery through the program, but it was just so many attributes. For example, few things that come to my mind, the case competition. So it was beautiful because we had a chance to actually represent ESSEC in a global case study and a global case competition. And that experience was absolutely brilliant because it gave us a chance to be part of something where you're representing a school and you're competing with other schools. But apart from just the competition, it's just the idea that you're learning from other schools and their work, but giving that opportunity. Then it was also like, in my case, I'm currently in consulting. So the program helped a lot. And Kintia, you mentioned that in terms of the 4 steps, that consulting lens of how do you break into consulting? What are some of the tactics that you require? So that really helped me when I was going through the interview stage. So I wasn't going in blind, I was actually getting enough preparation. And so both of those for me really helped through the program, that actual practical elements of preparing yourself for the workforce, but also the knowledge that you get from other events like the case study, and obviously from the program and the coaches and the alumni, all of those put together.
Great, thank you. It's very, very interesting. And now maybe the last question, but not the least, we might just have more questions from the audience as well. So yeah, what advice that you think you could give to the potential candidates, to the attendees today who are listening and probably contemplating their decision of applying to the MBA?
So a couple of thoughts come to my mind. So first one is the program is as strong as how you put into it. It's kind of that phrase, the input will determine your output. So if you put in that input, which is actually go ahead and be curious, put in that discovery of, let me get involved in these case competitions or these case studies. Let me actually get involved in the digital week properly. Let me get involved in understanding from the alumni group or the other network and seeing their perspective. I think that takes us so much more further. And when you see the outputs from it, then you see that their journey has been such a steep learning curve. So I think that input and how much we put into it is really key. So I would probably really recommend going with that view of putting the most amount of input. A second is probably challenging yourself daily. So if you're telling yourself to say, all right, I'm kind of in a comfortable position, let me kind of take a back seat, ask yourself the question that you've dedicated a year for this program. So try asking on a daily basis, what additional thing can you do? And that's something that kind of helped me position myself. So I wouldn't say go so hard that you kind of burn out. I wouldn't never say that, but also be at a point where you're kind of going out of your comfort zone. Let it be from a language perspective. And for me, that was a huge comfort zone, getting out of it. But more than that, it was getting out of your comfort zone to understand a different perspective. I think both of those I would really think would be good thoughts for future students.
Great, thank you so much. It's very true. Then staying in the comfort zone, moving out of it is a big challenge, and everybody should challenge every day to get out of that comfort zone a little more. So thank you so much. You two are great examples of our alumni, but not only. Along with you, there are many other success stories that we have. Like you see on the screen, a few other stories to tell. Around 78% of our graduates have had a job within 4 months of their graduation, and 85% of our graduates who secured permanent positions within having a promotion, like within 6 to 12 months. So what is interesting to see is so many times in the classroom, we've had, like, for example, in the class of 2021, we had one participant who got a job within the first 3 months of joining the program. So that was an amazing story, and that kind of boosted the whole class to really get out there and pitch themselves out, and it was a nice booster for everyone. So there are so many more success stories, so much more to say, and we're going to share more and more of them with you, and like starting off with Kailash and Alejandro. So thank you so much once again. We have more, like I said, we'll share more with you. So we have more webinars coming up, more masterclasses coming up in the next months. So on 10th of November, we have a webinar on diving into the strategy and digital leadership track. So you'll learn more about the track, what happens in the track, the courses, the extra activities around the course, with the academic director and a few alumni who will be sharing their experience. Then on the 25th of November, we have a webinar on the luxury brand management track. So you'll hear from the academic coordinator of this track, who, along with a few alumni, who will again share their stories of their experience during the program and after. And in December, on the 12th of December at 2:30 p.m. New York time, we are having a masterclass on the dynamics of luxury in the Americas. So if you're interested in the luxury brand management course, you must attend this masterclass with Denis Maurice, and who has had a lot of masterclasses, and students normally always testify that he's an amazing professor, and the masterclasses play a very important decision making in the decision making process for these potential candidates. Then we have the second masterclass on the 20th of January, sorry for the typo, 2022, and you will get more information. If you're registered for this, you will get more information about the next webinars and masterclasses. But in case you do not receive it, do not hesitate to send us an email, and we will send you out the registration links for the webinars and the masterclasses. So of course, like I said, you can send us an email for the webinars, but also for other questions. If you want to know anything about the program, please do not hesitate to write to us, and also follow us on social media. And if you want to hear different stories of the Global MBA experience, you could use the hashtag ESSEC GMBA experience, and you'll find out more about this life in class. Moving on to your part of the journey, or your part of this presentation, of the questions that you have. I had a few questions coming in, so let's start. So first question for you, Kentia, you did mention it quickly. There is a question about it, and I thought it can be interesting to answer. What is the requirement, the criteria for admissions for the MBA program? Is someone who has a creative background, but probably like not the highest scores, a good candidate or a potential candidate? How do you evaluate a candidate?
We really look at all the application in a holistic manner. And I mean, if I'm thinking about, for example, your GMAT score, it cannot be a key factor of success in your application by itself, because we will always look at it in the view of what is your academic background, what is your professional experience, what do your essay tell us from you. And once again, what we are looking at is ensuring that wherever you are, you have this passion in you, you have this alignment with the values of the school. I think for us, those values are very important and driving most of what we do: humanism, excellence, and diversity. And we have to ensure that you share the same. And lastly, of course, that whatever your career goals are, we want to ensure that they are achievable and that we can help you to succeed. So once again, it's really the overall application file that we are looking at. We are, of course, looking at enough professional experience for you to be able to contribute in the classroom, because as Kailash and Alejandro has mentioned, it's the peers interaction is an important part. So everybody, we have a small cohort, relatively small cohort, so we want to ensure that each participant will bring something to the group. And so we look at, of course, at that. Yeah, that's Kanika, you want to add anything on that?
I think it's pretty complete on what you mentioned. It's true that we look at the overall profile of the candidate. So do not hesitate, send an email to the recruitment team and write to them to get your profile evaluated, to see if it's the right match and if it's the right fit. Next question is for both the alumni around the table. Alejandro and Kailash, what are your best memories from the program? Is there any specific class or experience that you remember? Who would like to start? Go, Kailash.
Okay, sure. I'll try. I think my best memory would definitely be taking part in the case competition, being being part of a group and putting together, so coming up with that group, creating a panel of who should be the right person to be part of that panel to judge whether the case that we're putting forward is accurate, going ahead and representing the university and learning from the other schools as well. That entire opportunity gave us a chance of putting together everything we've learned from the year into a very targeted, like 2 to 3 weeks. So that for me really stood out. A course that really stood out, was specific for me, was based within finance, which was a firm valuation course. And it was beautiful because it kind of sat perfectly for my objective of the program, which is combining a view of finance and strategy. And the lecturer did such an incredible job of storytelling through the story, just built that program, and built within those 10 weeks such a good understanding of how finance and strategy were coming together. For me, that was excellent.
Thank you, Kailash. Alejandro, would you like to add on to what Kailash said? What is your best memory from the program, and a specific class or experience that you remember?
Yeah, I would say it was a digital week. I had a similar experience as Kailash. Like I had the opportunity to bring a lot of the knowledge I had acquired in the previous months, and well, it was just 1 week, but very intense, and everyone was in competitive mode. Was a really interesting experience, also because it was like a real case. We did this marketing project for Signify, the branch of Philips company. So we knew that it was a school competition, but at the same time we knew it was something real, and this brought like an extra more flavor to it. And of course it was great. I enjoyed very much this. So if I had to mention one particular class, personally I enjoy a lot the strategic management. Here we learn like how to approach the business situations or business problems into how to break them down in a strategic way. And even though sometimes some of the cases I already kind of heard of it, like the way we learn about it, the way we tackle them, and we break down like everything from the financials, from the circumstances that were happening around the company or the country where the company is. Like I think it was one of the classes that made me feel okay, I'm doing an MBA, and I think it's one of the was a great way to start the week, because it was on Monday night 9 a.m. So yeah, that was my favorite class for sure.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing it, Alejandro. The next question we have is a very interesting question. Arpan asks, why would this MBA be helpful for entrepreneurs? He is currently running his own animation studio with a background in creativity, and he wants to know that do we train entrepreneurs? And maybe Kentia, you could start, and of course both you alumni can add on. I'm sure your experience, your classmates' experience are interesting as well.
Of course, we do train entrepreneurs at ESSEC, and it's one of the pillar of the ESSEC strategy to focus on entrepreneurship. So that's definitely one of our strengths at the school level, and depends a bit on your background. But as an entrepreneur, you will need a solid foundation. I mean, the core of business management for sure. The network that you will gain will always be important, and I don't know what Alejandro and Kailash, if you want to add anything on that, but we have entrepreneurs every year in our program for sure.
Yeah, in my case, we have one. We have a Chinese guy who is an entrepreneur, and I know he got a lot of inputs from the ESSEC incubator, and he got a lot. He got some also orientation. So yeah, I think it depends a lot on how you want to. If you are super clear on what you want to do and how you're gonna use the programming to your favor, of course, it can happen.
I just add to both the points. I think like just reflecting on our program, we had a course dedicated on entrepreneurship, which that was very that was strong because it gave that foundation, like Kentia mentioned, along with the other courses. Then as part of that course, we also had a chance to kind of kickstart a small business and kind of play it and reflect on it. So that was helpful. I know within the program we had one of the team members who started his own restaurant, and as part of that there was like a bit of a discovery, and there was like an opening that happened while the program was, so he was kind of testing it with the group. So I think that whole thing of the course, along with him kind of going through that entrepreneurial journey and we being part of it as well, because we were kind of seeing and learning, that was, I think that's probably just an example to showcase it.
Great, thank you so much. All right, so we have many more questions. We'll take a few more. The next question is for the alumni, probably eventually Kentia, you can add on too. What are the best tips you could give for the interview? Probably the interview before joining the program.
Would you like to start, Alejandro, or should I?
Well, for the interview, well, yeah, I mean, try to, of course, you need to know very well yourself. Like you need to understand why in the first place you want to do this, and in that case, how the program is going to help you. I think you need to ask yourself this question first, and of course, after that, you can always do some rehearsals. For me, it helped a lot to do like rehearsal with somebody else and see like, hey, you know what, you should do more like this, and like, but first of all, like ask yourself that and try to be in a comfortable position. I did my interview at midnight because it was midnight in Mexico, so yeah, it was interesting. But also try to, well, there are a lot of other questions that can come from the program director that usually I would say they're all around your career project. How would you fit into a program, like, and of course it helps you also to understand like, is this really for me? Is how I'm gonna take the most out of it. So yeah, that's my recommendation.
Kailash, would you like
I think that's spot on. I think he's hit everything on the head. I can probably add one small thing just from my perspective, which is look at yourself maybe from a holistic perspective. Sometimes we kind of just think it's only about academic and what I bring from academic, or only from a job front and what I bring, but kind of zoom out and see academic, job front, your personal profile as well, any charity work, your other hobbies, how all of them kind of fit in to this program, and not just focus on one or the other. So kind of take that lens a bit higher. And then obviously Alejandro covered it beautifully, the other things.
I agree, like with what you said at the very end. And just one last thing, maybe it's not just about yourself. Think about how would you contribute to the program, how your profile and your perspective, your culture would contribute. Just take this into consideration as well.
Yeah, if I may just add one little thing, I very much agree on the self-reflection that is needed in terms of getting ready for. You need some preparation. I mean, you need enough preparation for this interview, for clarifying your goals, but don't forget to or try to be as authentic as possible, because as a jury member, we are looking to have to really get to know you. It's important that we have this feeling that we have someone authentic in front of us and let us know who they really are. Once again, to ensure that the match is good.
Great, thank you so much. The next question is about the French language. So how important is it to know French for a professional growth in the French working environment? So maybe Alejandro, considering you're working in France after your MBA, so maybe if you want to throw some light on this, and then of course the others are welcome to join as well.
Okay, so the question is if it's important to know French to get a job in France?
Yeah,
Well,
to work in the French in the French environment, but yes, in working in France after your MBA, do you need to know French?
Yeah, it is important. We're in France, and in France, French is the language. It's not impossible to get a job, and in France, even though you don't speak French, and I'm one example, but it was yeah, you need to take that into consideration. There's not a lot about to say about that. There's also the feeding the culture. Of course, it helps to know the language. Yes, that's what I can say.
Great. Anybody wants to add on something?
I can probably add just a couple from a probably a little bit of a different perspective. So definitely in France, Alejandro mentioned it's a huge strength to know French. But I think first thing is the program itself. English is the main mode of conversation and how it's being taught. So that program itself really helps that your medium is through English. Because of the network that's outside of France, many times you have that opportunity to kind of venture out into the other spaces. So I know within our batch, there were people who moved over to Finland. A few of us, so in my case, I moved over to UK. There were some people who kind of moved back to their home country. So that idea is there that you can always look at opportunities within Europe as well, not just restricting to France.
Thank you, Kailash. I think it's very true. Knowing French in France is important, but the MBA opens your doors to many more countries and a lot of industries where you could explore opportunities. Okay, so we have many questions. Maybe we'll take one or two more. I'm just looking at, we're running out of time. Okay, so Kentia, as you previously said that you spoke about the luxury brand management track, while Alejandro and Kailash are good examples of the strategy track. Would you be able to share a little more insights on the luxury track, probably?
Yeah, and I strongly encourage you to join the webinar that will be dedicated to the luxury track. So as I was saying, I'm not sure what you want me to share in specifically, but just keep in mind you will have a lot of classes taught by experts of the industry and corporate partners, and the exposure you will get through professional talks that are always organized, get together, also outside the program, the savoir-faire visit, the field trip that are dedicated to luxury tracks. So the way we work this year is we have a common field trip for the entire cohort, and then one field trip, for example, for the luxury track, which should be specifically focusing on the luxury industry in Italy, and there is another one in Switzerland. So the way we work for the luxury track, depending on the interest of the students on fragrances, luxury, fashion, cosmetics, or watches, or whatever, then we cater to the interest of specifically each group of students with opportunities to discover the savoir-faire and to reach out to the industry throughout capstone projects, throughout speakers, and of course you have the skills that are taught through the classes. And Kanika was mentioning we have a lot of experts at ESSEC, Denis Morisset, we have and many other who are of course very much involved in teaching in the program.
Great, thank you so much, Kentia. There's one question about the GMAT GRE. Is it mandatory? Is it absolute requirement for the program?
Yeah, we do require you to have to present your GMAT score, absolutely.
Great. I think that's it. Maybe let's have the alumni give one last word before we end the webinar.
Well, thanks once again for the opportunity, and yeah, I mean, it's a great experience. Like from every perspective you see it, it's a growing experience. So go for it.
Thank you, Alejandro. Kailash.
Carbon copy, I think it will definitely be like a big discovery of all of you. You'll just end up learning a lot about yourself, and just the opportunities and the doors that open are endless. So good luck. All I can probably say is if there's any other way that we can help through that journey, happy to do so. So you have our details. So if you do need to connect with us, happy to provide any other thoughts.
Great. So of course, if you want to reach out to the alumni, feel free to. If you want to reach out to other alumni, because like someone was asking something about the luxury track, get in touch with the program team, the recruitment team, who will put you in touch with alumni as well. So thank you so much. Maybe Kentia, one last word from you, and then we wrap up the webinar. You're on mute.
Sorry, yeah. So thank you for joining us today, and we really look forward to interact with you again. Yeah, if you have any question, if you are any doubt about your application or whatsoever, you just get in touch with us, and we do hope to see you in the interview phase very soon. Bye.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Have a nice afternoon, day, or the rest of the week. And we look forward to having you on our next webinars. Thank you. Bye.